Myth number 2, reteach the same lesson with the same skills. The math intervention cycle calls for a diagnose first approach. When you diagnose, you can label the gaps that you are seeing in student work as a concept, prerequisite, procedure, or language representation gap, which calls for different responses. This can look like in the classroom when you're walking around monitoring students' work in the independent portion or guided practice portion of your lesson. And you notice there are several students that are struggling with this concept that you recently taught. You can use a mastery check that I provide in the Math Intervention Academy to quickly check off which students got the concept or are struggling with the concept. After you use your mastery check to record that, you pull the students' responses and you classify whether it's a prerequisite, concept, or language representation gap or a procedural gap. These gaps call for vastly different responses depending on where you group those gaps at from the students' responses. Just like in wait for the benchmark, do not stop at correct or incorrect. Ask yourself again, what understanding is present, what is missing, and what evidence do you need next to close that gap where to close that gap if it's a concept, prerequisite, procedural, or language representation gap.